Good evening. We have a big show for you tonight. We have Richard Allen, the Delphi suspect, in court today. Moscow, Idaho, the quadruple murder. The police have nothing. We're going to talk a little bit about some white collar crime. The Chrisleys can get 19 years combined prison for $20 million in bank fraud and wire fraud. And Elizabeth Holmes gets 11 years in prison for nearly $1 billion in fraud. We can talk about the hate crime down in Colorado Springs. And of course, we've got Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. Let's talk about it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. This is our Tuesday night live program. If you haven't watched our daily video that we put up, I'd ask you to go please watch that video as well. A lot going on in the news related to true crime, criminal cases, criminal procedure going on. The last couple of weeks were, well, a little quiet. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what it is, but things got busy. So let's start off first. Delphi, Indiana, Richard Allen going to court. There's the guy. He's charged with the multiple counts of murder in regards to the Delphi homicide. His attorneys came out after court, apparently have read the arrest affidavit that Judge Gull is mulling over, pondering whether the rest of the world should know what evidence was it that rose to the level of probable cause to arrest Richard Allen and then slap basically a no bond hold on him and throw him in the Indiana Department of Corrections for his own protection. His attorneys say this is pretty weak. Now, we did a show. We talked about the attorneys representing Mr. Allen. Both are experienced private criminal defense attorneys. I think they have 20 and 30 years plus experience, respectively, doing criminal defense. And so as a criminal defense attorney, I'm going to, think to myself, hey, if these attorneys are coming out and saying this is all they've got, this seems a little light, and they say the state has the wrong guy, makes you go, that's for sure. So let's take a look. I think we got the video of Mr. Allen going into court today. There he is going in. He's got quite the escort there. He's got the Indiana Department of Corrections officers there. Looks like he's belly chained and probably has his ankles belly chained as well. Getting quite the escort. Coming out, I just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what is it, 6, 7, 8 maybe? 8 people. The man is presumed innocent. He was such a danger to the community that it took 6 years to finally get around to arresting him. So it just makes me wonder. Yes, I'm a criminal defense attorney, but I still am a citizen and we need law and order. And if somebody has committed crime, then obviously they should be prosecuted, prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt, and then convicted if they've given due process. I'm with you on that. This one just seems a little weird. Now, Frank did a very, let's say great. It was a great little collection here of all the people that were allegedly involved. Remember, top of this little photo array were the sketches of the people that were involved. The one on the left apparently is supposedly Mr. Allen. Then one on the right, I don't know. Who could that be? Then we've got Mr. Keegan Klein there in his UAW t-shirt. And the guy on the right, he's dead, right in between Mr. Keegan Klein and why can't I remember his name, but he's dead. He passed away, but he lived right next to the crime scene as well, right there on the Monon Bridge. And he was a suspect at the time. His house was searched, but no charges were ever filed. And as we do know, Mr. Allen apparently at some point quite early in the investigation went to the police and said, hey, I was at that bridge during that general time, but I didn't ever see the girls there. But I'm just being an honest citizen here. So that's why the affidavit for the arrest warrant is going to be so important for us, the public, to see what evidence do they have. Do they have, do they have DNA evidence? Was there something from the crime scene that was collected at his house? What was it that rose to the level of probable cause to get a search warrant to go into the house and start searching? Not just, hey, we had these guys take a look at this case, and wow, 5 years ago, we got a guy that lives 2 miles from this place, says he was there at the scene that particular day. We should probably go get a search warrant and check it out. I don't think that's enough to get probable cause, in my humble opinion. But if a judge signed it, the police can go in, search. They search there all day at the house. Then he gets arrested some 2 weeks later. So it does make you wonder what the police have, the Indiana State Police. Why? Like I said, I just don't get it. The prosecutor. Okay, here's a little comparison. Here's Mr. Allen. Obviously, it looks like he hasn't shaved in a while. His little goatee is growing just a little long there. And then is that Mr. Allen over there on the bridge? What do you think? Let me know. I see in the comments here, it says May says that his voice of his wife's video matches the down the hill recording really well. But the detectives, the FBI, when they were looking at the other guy that's since passed away, they said his voice was very similar. So which one was it? You have to remember, police officers are normal people too. They really are. They got a tough job. They deserve respect. They don't deserve a free pass, particularly when, we're talking about serious cases here. But, 6 years and all of a sudden the case is cracked. What new has come along? That's what we really need to find out. So we've got that. So we'll take your comments as well. What is the other case going on? Oh, that's right. Idaho, right? The Idaho case is going on up there in Moscow, Idaho. And what do you make of this? I mean, this is just, it gets more bizarre as the days go on. And I don't mean bizarre as in like weird, but it's like a week later, the police go back and basically say, hey, we better start taking some photographs of some tire tracks, car tracks. Maybe let's, extend our perimeter around the house. Maybe there's a box or this knife that they may be looking for. Apparently, the law enforcement today were seen loading a cardboard box in a plastic bin into the SUV of the police today. Normally what happens when there is a crime scene investigation team shows up, and some jurisdictions have, people that this is what they do. Other people, it's like the old detective, like, hey, he really had an interest in photography. Guess what? You're now our crime scene photographer. The DNA stuff, it's getting so simple that just about anybody can do it. But usually they have some sort of background, the crime scene people, as it relates to, some science science training and what have you. But normally they come in, they seal it off, they don't release anything. Nobody comes in or out until they are done processing the scene. It really just kind of makes you wonder what's going on. And then the police and sometimes the politicians, I think the mayor was out there speaking early on, basically saying, hey, it looks like it's an isolated incident. Don't be alarmed. And you're just like, what do you mean? Somebody just committed a quadruple homicide and you're telling me don't worry, which goes back to what I said often. When the government says, don't worry, worry. When they say, everything's fine, it's not fine. You need to be able to take care of yourself. And so the mayor was coming out saying it's an isolated incident. Don't worry about it. The police chief is like, well, we really don't know. It's somewhat isolated, some sort of targeted attack, I think were the exact words that the police officers were using at their press conference. And then you come to find out, it was a couple days into the investigation that not only was there a quadruple murder, we had two people inside the residence that were believed to have been sleeping during the entire incident. Now, who knows? These are young kids. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they had some alcoholic beverages themselves. Who knows? Thank goodness. The important thing is, thank goodness those two are safe. And this isn't 6 people that are deceased, right? Well, we've got 4 too many deceased at this point. Young kids. Unbelievable. 4 kids literally getting ready to go start their lives after college. And this, whether it's targeted or random, seriously, doesn't your heart just break for their families, their friends? Look at all those pictures. They were just getting ready to start life, graduating from school. They had jobs. So I think the one girl had a job lined up, ready to go. And wow, it's so random. Like I said, to think we have video, right, of a couple of these young ladies at the truck, a food truck, not far from their house, getting some food, talking to some people there, nothing particularly out of the ordinary, at least that I can see there. Doesn't look like anybody's threatening. People look like they're happy, smiling. I don't see anybody wearing a big knife on their belt. Everything looks, frankly, like you'd expect to see in kind of a college town. People getting some late night food, got some munchies or whatever, coming home from a night out drinking at a bar. It looks normal. And then within a couple of hours, these young people are gone. That's just kind of scary if you think about it. I've been doing criminal defense work for 27 years. I've seen lots of, cases where, bad stuff just happens to good people and you just don't get it. It's just heartbreaking and you have no reason for it. That's the part that is really frustrating, is even the police are saying, we got nothing. We have no motive. We have no suspect. We have no murder weapon. There's been talk. Everybody keeps referring to this Rambo style knife. Yes, you can go get many, many knives down at the local, hunting store, Walmart, wherever you're going to go. You can order one online. Then there was some talk that it was a K-bar that was traditionally used by the Marine Corps. That knife hasn't been issued by the Marine Corps probably in, 50 years, maybe. It came to be while in the military. World War II in the Marine Corps. The Marines loved it. And I've got one. In my duffel bag at home in the rafters of all old uniforms and field stuff. It's a great knife. You could do anything with it. You never went to the field without one. you just never knew. You need to dig a little hole. You need to whatever. It's always good to have that knife there. I'm not sure exactly why they think it would be a K-bar. I don't think there's anything particularly distinguishing as to how a K-bar would cut. And then they start saying a Rambo style knife. I mean, that could be anything. If you go to a hunting store, they always got the knife case there, and they just got ridiculous knives that you wouldn't even imagine. Like, why would you need that? It's just ridiculous. So, let's see here. I just don't know. Let's see if anybody here. Okay, theories. You're right, Sod. Let's put this little question up here. Drugged by the food truck and killed by the knives they cook with. Look for the food trucks. Follow the money. Well, your rights audit. I mean, that theory is just as good as any of the others that the police have. We just don't know. Like Holly says, it was a Rambo style knife. In the real world, nobody carries around a Rambo style knife. It's just not that. It's just not really a thing. Frank, can you find a picture of a K-bar? Just type in USMC K-bar real quick. Maybe put a picture up so we can do it. Somebody has a question here. Moments in trading. I don't even have I don't even know what a K-bar is. I'll show you. Frankly, I'm not even sure why they call it a K-bar, to be honest with you. It's just a knife. And I've had a couple of them. One was so dull, I could never get that thing to sharpen. I had better luck of knocking myself out with it as I was throwing it away than I would actually cutting myself on it. It was so bad. Let's see here. Look at a couple more of these comments. What took place for 3 hours at the corner bar? Well, no video's been turned over. I would assume that somebody from the Moscow, Idaho Police Department would have gone to the bar where those two young ladies were at for several hours and asked for video. Most establishments, bars, have pretty good camera security systems. And if you have multiple cameras, you can go to the DVR unit and you can follow people through, literally from the time that they come into the bar to the time they leave. See who they interacted with, if somebody looking at them weird, anything along those lines to do that. So I'm assuming, let's just assume that they police have got that video. Then somebody asked, did they find the dog? It's my understanding the dog that was in the house has been turned over to family friends. Maybe the ex-boyfriend got the dog? Okay. The dog has been in good hands. And now, of course, there was a lot of talk about an incident in a neighboring county, as I understand it, that a dog was found on the side of the road, and they believed it it was murdered and skinned, and thought, well, maybe this could be related. The police said, no, that is not the case. It did not happen at all. Not related, or at least they're not considering it related. But I don't know what you can, you can't rule anything out. All right. You're right on it. Oh my God, don't pick my stuff to quote. I thought it was a reasonable comment. I wasn't picking on it. Trish Norman says, hey, food truck guy was cleared, I thought. There were several people that were, in fact, cleared. I believe the numbers up to the police have done some 90 interviews, I think. Okay, so here is a picture of a K-bar. As you can see, the USMC is etched in it. It's got the little pointy tip, etc. The leather top up there usually comes with a sheath. That's what the police have in some way thought that maybe this could have been used. I'm not sure how they could distinguish this, saying, "Oh, this was," they were looking for a K bar. They were asking. They went to a couple, or at least one of the local sporting goods shops to see if anybody had purchased a K bar. Who knows? Maybe there was a sheath or something that remained behind. Who knows at this point? We just do not know. But as you can see, but that photo, can you put that photo back up? Yes, please. It is not like you see when they talk about the Rambo knife, they usually talk about the ones that like have the big knot, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you could cut barbed wire with it. You're not going to do that with this knife. So when people say a Rambo knife, but then the police are asking about anybody bought a K bar. The guy's like, I don't even sell a K bar here. So like I said, these are pretty routine. I think everybody in the Marine Corps, like I said, the Marine Corps doesn't issue them. At least they never issued me one years and years ago. But everybody had one, and you put it on your war belt. You took it to the field. You had it available because you always need a knife when you go to the field. You just never know whether you're opening an MRE. Got to dig yourself a little hole. You just never know what you need it for, or come up with the enemy. You got to know how to use it. But it's not a particularly, it's not like, oh, I'm going to use this knife to go, it's more of a utility knife, to be honest with you. And in the military, like, you want the enemy to stay far, far away from you. And if you're using small arms and knives, something's gone seriously, seriously wrong. It is not the preferred method of defense. That's for sure.
I got a comparison.
Okay, look at this. Frank, the hardest working man in show business. Look at that. On the left, you have a K bar. Then you have the one on the right, which a lot of people sometimes refer to as like a Rambo type knife. Oh, it even says Rambo there, apparently. Okay. And then if you look at the top of the knife, it's got the little, I don't want to use serrated, that's not right, but it's got the little grooves and cuts in there, which, could be used for as a saw. You could use it like to chop wood or something to that effect. So, I'm not sure how they've come to the conclusion that these young people that were stabbed it was either a K bar or some sort of Rambo style knife. As you can see, they are very, very different. And I'm not sure how the police have come to that conclusion. But hey, I'm going to assume the police know more than we do thus far, because obviously they've been at the crime scene. They can get a better feel for it. We're going to have to wait and see. I can tell you, I had it was a bloody mess case. Okay.
Yeah, look at that.
Okay. Yeah, there's a picture of the house there. Okay. Bloody mess. The blood is leaking from the walls, the structure of this house. All right. I had a case years ago. It was terrible. Knives involved. Multiple people at a scene. Bad. But they were able to get some DNA from one of the victims in the case, because before some bad things were done, let's just say they did some terrible things to her. But it was a cold case, and it took a long time to come to trial. But there's always something there. Do I have my little book? Let me have my little book. Hold on, let me see if I can find my little book to get my quote here. But I got to be able to find it. I can't find it. Hold on one second. I'm looking for a quote that I have that I can't find it right now.
It's under the.
Oh,
What,
ta-da! This is a great book. It's a true case. It was a story about it's called Murder in the Bank Vault. We shall digress here just a little bit. And probably one of the greatest attorneys to ever practice here in the Denver area was a guy by the name of Walter Garash. He's retired now. His son practices law, but it was called Murder in the Bank Vault. It was the Father's Day massacre where somebody went into the bank vault at the now Wells Fargo Bank and in the notorious cash register building, went into the bank vault and killed multiple people, stole a bunch of money, and they charged the individual in the case who used to coincidentally be a former police officer and then also worked for a short time as a private security guard there. He was acquitted at trial. They were going for the death penalty and they were acquitted. But there is a great quote, okay? And it relates to evidence in a case. And I think it's so true. Okay. I think this is just listen to this. And in this book, it was in regards to the FBI agent, and they were quoting him as kind of the preface to one of their manuals. And it's in regards to collection of the evidence. And it says, wherever the criminal steps, whatever he touches, whatever he leaves, even unconsciously, will serve as silent witness against him. Not only his fingerprints or his footprints, but his hair, the fibers from his clothes, the glass he breaks, the marks he leaves, the paint he scratches, the blood he deposits or collects. All of these and much more bear mute witness against him. This evidence that does not forget. It is not confused by the excitement of the moment. It is not absent because human witnesses are. It cannot perjure itself. It cannot be prejudiced, be influenced by suggestion, by falsely reinforced identity. It cannot be wholly absent. Only human failure to find it, study it, and understand it can diminish its value. I think that's a great, great quote. And I've used something very similar to that in many a closing argument. And this case was before kind of all the DNA stuff really came on. So you can add in there, the fibers, the hair, the blood, the fingerprints. Oh, and put DNA. So if there's DNA in there, hopefully the police were able to get it. Hopefully they were able to look and say, hey, we have a mixture. Who knows? Those knives that we put up, sometimes people don't know this, but coroners will have told me this in the past, that when people have knives like that, they have the little point at the top where, you're supposed to like keep your hand from going down. But oftentimes when people stab people, their hand continues to go down, when the knife hits something hard, and that they can actually get injured on that. So maybe you want to look for somebody that has injuries on their hands, but you just don't know. Really, you can't assume anyone is not a suspect, and you have to assume everybody is a suspect at this particular time. We just do not know. You just never know. Carla Sue saw a guy wearing a Rambo knife the other day. Well, you never know. People can wear them all the time. I think people, mostly can carry a little pocket knife, a little thing. We've all got the little knife. But, the way in today's, like, I can't have a knife, can't carry one in with me. I mean, I'd like to have one. You always never know. You always need a knife when you never have one when you need one. But when you're going in and out of metal detectors, you just can't do it. But that's just the way it is. But I don't know. The police, they know nothing at this point. And I hate to say that because I wish them well. I hope they can do this for the family. I mean, everybody needs to see here. Now, okay, David, good question here. Scott, do you think the cops cornered off enough of the property at the beginning? Well, I think we all have seen the photos and some of the videos around there, and it looked like the police, they had the little tape up for a while, but you would think when they have no suspects, you don't know which way this person went. You don't know how they traveled on foot, on bike, horseback. I mean, you have no idea. How did they get there? So, it's like the old, I used to have a thing of it up on my wall, and it's, still holds true today. And I always tell my attorneys, you know, it's the same thing. I don't know if you can see this, but you just got a sign up in my office. I don't know if you can see that with the light, but it would say, assume nothing. Don't assume anything. If the witness statement says the witness is going to say that, go ask him again. If there's going to be something going on, you suspect, hey, this is my gut. How do you prove it? Okay. Because hunches, suspicion don't get you into court. I mean, maybe get you into court, but it doesn't get you proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So you have to, when you're investigating something like this, you have to assume everybody's a suspect. Don't discount anyone or anything that they're saying. And, there's probably some people that they need to watch. I'm not saying who I would watch, but I'm just saying there's probably some people they need to watch. I'm sure people have been going through, hopefully they've got search warrants to go through the phone. I think there were some calls. I saw some information today that apparently there was an individual that was calling or something repeatedly to one of the young ladies at the bar. Maybe they met, some guy at the bar. I mean, who knows? You just never know. It could be something totally random. It could be somebody that, wanted to maybe go harm one person, but somebody woke up. You just do not know. The coroner said that some of the victims had defensive wounds, and that the coroner suspected that probably many of the victims were probably asleep when they were originally attacked. Maybe they woke up once something, obviously, they started being attacked. But yeah, let's see here. Joey Faith. They're saying the food truck guy was cleared, but there's the most evidence pointing to him. They don't want him to know they are on to him. Okay. I'm not sure why, obviously some people are thinking that, but even then, why? Why these two girls? Did they complain about the food? Write a bad review? What was it? Now look, Cat. I have my dad's K-bar from the 1960. His blade is much bigger than the one that they showed on TV. I think the K-bar stayed pretty much the same. Maybe it was a bayonet that affixed to his rifle. It's possible. I don't know. Yep. Let's hope. Melissa saying, hey, hope the family, they get an arrest. Absolutely. But I want to make sure we get the right guy. I mean, not to jump too far back, but, we go back to Richard Allen, right? Did they get the right guy? And then the prosecutor, can you believe this? Says, well, there could be somebody else out there that was maybe involved in this as well. Oh, really? And you didn't arrest that person? Why not? You don't have probable cause? You don't have enough evidence to come forward? Yeah. Scott, what's your experience with crimes of passion? Well, I don't have, let's say I haven't personally committed one, but I've had several cases that involved crimes of passion. Spouses strangling their spouse, spouses killing their spouse. One that really always jumps out at me is guy was having a little argument with his wife. She leaves the house, starts walking down the street. The gentleman maybe then gets into the car, begins to follow her as the wife is walking down the street. Wife gets a little afraid, when maybe somebody started bumping her with the car. And this is always my dying declaration example under the rules of evidence, because it's the only time it's ever truly come up. And so the car is bumping the woman as she's walking down the street. She gets more nervous, scared, sees a house with a fence there, jumps over the fence like a chain link fence, hoping it'll get away from the person in the car. Unbeknownst to her, let's just say the driver of the car drives through the chain link fence, pins the woman against the house with the car, literally knocking the house off of the foundation. And then the husband maybe gets out of the car and walks away. People at the house wake up in regards to the blood-curdling screams, pull the car away from the house. The woman is there. She thinks she's dying. She probably is. And she says, blank did it. Had she died, that would have been admissible. It was a dying declaration. So you have to believe that you're dying and that you are, to identify what was taking place, because otherwise, it's hearsay, right? Statements of dead people don't come in. But if it's a dying declaration, so-and-so did it. I'm dying. Like literally, I'm dying. I know I'm dying. Tell my babies I love them. By the way, this is the guy that did it. I think that's a crime of passion. Bad case. So yeah, exactly. There's no serration on the back of the K-bar. Exactly. That other one's like for chopping wood. You could saw wood. I've seen people be like, I've cut through barbed wire with those serrated edges on that Rambo knife. Let's see here. Idaho police. Edward. I'm assuming it's directed at me. Are Rick's attorneys supposed to go, yep, they got the killer? They're not. Use your brain. All right, Edward, I understand. But yes, they're going to say my client's not guilty, but they can also say, wow, we expected more. Kind of like in the Barry Morphew case. I mean, that was 132 pages of complete drivel. And look how that turned out. And everybody said all along, there's nothing there. I read that when we got a redacted version released. I'm like, this is all they have? Half of this is speculation, assumptions made by the police, and it's not coming into evidence at trial. So I think the attorneys, of course, can, and they're doing their jobs. I take it all with a grain of salt. Let's face it. He's not going anywhere. I don't see this judge giving him a personal recognizance bond, as the attorneys suggested, saying that there's not proof evident presumption great, which is saying, hey, judge, the evidence against my client is so overwhelming, you can't give him a bond. Prosecutors are obviously going to argue that. But yeah, no, I get it, Edward. I get it. But let's face it. They can't go around making false statements either. And so if they were a little underwhelmed by it, they would, or if they thought, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming, they're probably not going to make any statements at all. They'd probably make the classic statement of, we are going to fight this case in the courtroom, not in the court of public opinion. Let's see. Crocheting, Bammy. You can't assume anything with Idaho law enforcement. They're worthless. And it's too bad it took a tragedy for something to take place. But probably the only people that are happier that the focus is on the Moscow, Idaho police are all the law enforcement and court personnel, judges, prosecutors in the Lori Vallow matter, thinking, wow, can we just move along? Let's focus on that one for a while. Yeah. I know. Wouldn't it be nice? Great evidence, wouldn't it? It's going to come down to physical evidence, I would think. Short of, I mean, just think about it. You get the proverbial first 48 hours. If they don't get their man or woman or their suspect in the first 48 hours, kind of your chances as a defendant being charged go down quite a bit. And so here we are a week later. I know it takes time to do DNA, and who knows? Maybe the person was cut. Maybe in the struggle, they cut themselves, bled somewhere, hair fell out. They can test it. Who knows what evidence they have? But it's probably going to come down to physical evidence. And if that physical evidence, i.e. DNA, something along those lines in the Idaho case, can't be explained why it's there, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. Let's see here. Whoever it was, confident he would not get caught, at least in the house. Yeah. And the door was unlocked. There's a dog as well. And I don't know anything about the dog, right? My dog could be barking at one particular moment and sleep through the entire incident herself, depending on the type of day that she is having, right? So who knows? Who knows? You just never know. And you can't say, well, this had to have happened. Okay. Michelle wants to know, what's a K-bar, please? We're going to put this up one more time, Frank. The one on the left is a K-bar. It was issued mostly in World War II, kind of known, for the Marine Corps. It's a K-bar. The Marine Corps doesn't issue them, but oftentimes people would go buy them on their own, strap them to their war belt, their H harness, something along those lines. The other one is what they refer to kind of as the Rambo knife. It's got that long knife, sharp edge, serrated top up there where you could literally use it as a saw for wood. So that's the difference of the knife. I'm not sure how the police can say, oh, we think it was this particular knife or that knife. I mean, no, it could be a guy with a nice cooking set. I don't know. As some people have suggested, it's, we just have to wait and see. So hopefully, Michelle, that answers your question. It's just a knife. Frankly, I'm not even sure why they call it a K-bar. Because it's Marine Corps. Shouldn't it be the M-bar? I don't know exactly. I'm sure there's a great story behind it, but I just cannot recall hearing how it got that name. It was just always referred to as a K-bar. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's see a couple more questions and then talk about a couple of things. Yeah, there's some speculation how the one young lady could afford a pretty fancy car. I think a Range Rover, something along those lines.
Kilo bear. You can kilo bear with that. K-bar.
Oh, K-bar?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
K-bar. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I wouldn't put too much into that. I know when my daughter went off to college, what's the word I'm looking for? I got her a car. It was paid for as kind of a graduation gift. It was like a nice little Hyundai Sonata. Good little car. Got her through college, got her through grad school. It was a great car. And she would come to me and say, Dad, you're not going to believe it, but my roommate for, her 18th birthday or 19th birthday, her parents just got her a Range Rover. And I was like, wow. Well, I can tell you one thing. It's obvious that her parents love her more than I love you, because I only bought you a little Hyundai Sonata because you're 18 years old and you don't need a Range Rover. So, some parents, they got more money than they know what to do with. And they're like, hey, it's all relative. Let's buy the kid a Range Rover, Rolls Royce for all that matters. You know what I mean? I wouldn't read too much into that at all. Unless somebody can say somebody else was paying for that. But I can't imagine a kid's saying, well, yeah, someone else is doing it. Michelle wants to know, it's been speculated. And the only reason we have speculation is that a shop owner there in Moscow was asked by the police if somebody had purchased a K-bar anytime soon. Melissa says, I have chef knives that are more dangerous than that. I know. They're going to need to find more surveillance footage. Corey B says, of course. Yes. And the police have done so, which goes back to my point. And I'm not trying to criticize the police, but now they're asking like, hey, anybody got some video they want to share with us? Your Ring doorbells or surveillance you may have? Why are they doing that a week later? A week later, we're just kind of getting around to that. That's just weird. You would think that you, what's the word I'm looking for? When you got nothing, you expand the area for sure. Why did you not have police officers saying, hey, you got a Ring doorbell? Hey, you got a surveillance system? Anything we can check? Was anybody up? Did they hear anything weird? Did they see anything? Go ask everybody within a 10-block radius of that house. You just canvass the neighborhood. That's what police do a lot of the time. Anytime there is some sort of death or crime, they go canvass the neighborhood. And then you get a police report. And the police officer said, I went to this address. Nobody answered. I went to this address. Nothing. Right? And then somebody has to go back and ask all those people again, do they have anything? I've seen stuff now where it's pretty damn sophisticated, where the police can say, oh, a crime took place at this particular location. They can send out a request to everyone that has a Ring doorbell. And I'm assuming it's others as well. I know it's Ring. I've received them myself saying, oh, somebody's been stolen. The police can actually request all the video for a particular time. And it sends a request to the homeowner and says, hey, the police are requesting video between this date and time. Hit the little button so that the police can have access to that. And boom, it goes off to the police. I've seen that. I'm not sure they have that in Moscow, Idaho. I don't know, but I've seen it in other places. It's all computer stuff, right? It'll be interesting. All right, let's talk about a couple of other things here really fast before we end our show. And remember, you can become a Patreon member. And guess what? We are, we're going to have our call-in number for all our Patreon guests. And of course, we'll do the Magic 8 Ball. Maybe we'll ask the Magic 8 Ball if things are getting any closer to being solved and see what they come up with. So the other thing I want to talk about is Todd and Julie Chrisley. Okay. These two individuals have, I think I've seen it a couple times. I'm not going to lie. I've watched a couple times. I think one of the worst reality shows on TV, but apparently they've done well for themselves. Apparently, what's the word I'm looking for? They made their money in real estate. Well, they got charged with tax evasion. And their CPA got charged with tax evasion as well, falsifying bank records on various bank applications to rent houses, some wire fraud, etc. The prosecution said the relevant conduct was $20 million. A lot of money for sure. Well, Todd Chrisley got 12 years in prison, and Julie Chrisley, his wife, got 7 years in prison. A total of 19 years for $20 million. Then we have Elizabeth Holmes, the woman that was charged in the Theranos downfall, the fraud. For those that are familiar with that, this young Stanford dropout, Miss Elizabeth Holmes, thought that she was going to create a machine whereby with a simple pinprick, one drop of blood, her machine that hadn't been invented yet was going to be able to detect for all sorts of ailments, hereditary issues, etc. Turns out it never worked. She never had a working model, but she kept taking money. I mean, she had former Secretary of States, all people high up in government, business. She wooed them all, and they gave her money. And it was all a big hoax. She had nothing. The old fake it till you make it kind of thing. Well, she got sentenced after being convicted of 4 counts, I believe, at trial. She was found not guilty on some others, hung on some others as well. She had nearly $1 billion in restitution that the prosecution is asking for. Number needs to be nailed down, but let's say it's a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not $1 billion. She gets 11 years. And she hasn't turned herself in yet. I think the judge let her stay out on bond so that she can deliver her second baby, because she got pregnant either during the trial. I think she delivered during the trial, then got pregnant again. Probably a veiled attempt to try and stay out of custody. But when you steal $1 billion, you're going to federal prison. You go to prison if you are in federal custody. Just usually the way it works out. If you go to trial and you lose, you got to win. Otherwise, you're going to prison. So I just think that's something I find it makes one of those things that make you go, that's right. So we got these people down here for $20 million in fraud. They get 12 years and 9 years, $1 billion, and she gets that. Maybe one took place in Tennessee and the other one took place in old Silicon Valley up there, where, hey, it's just venture capital. She tried. Don't worry about it. Who knows? And then the case. I had somebody berating me. Why have you not talked about the case down in Colorado Springs, where yet again we had another coward go into an establishment? This time it was a gay bar where there was a comedy/drag show going on. And the guy that did this terrible act killed 5 people, injured many, many more. But his name was Anderson Lee Aldrich. And I don't think we have a photo of him from the front because they haven't released his booking photo. We just have a picture of him when, I don't know, the police were arresting him, I think it's sometime last year, for kidnapping and maybe having a bomb threat in the house. So bad that the mom called the police. But guess what? The case got dismissed, and he faced no consequences. People, of course, are trying to blame the police, saying they should have known more. Why didn't they do this? When the police arrest somebody, and yes, they may have to appear in court, but it's not like they follow a case from start to finish to see how it turns out. It normally just doesn't happen that way. And it's not their job to go around and try to use this, what they call red flag law that passed in Colorado a couple of years ago, where they say, hey, we think you're a risk to the community or risk to yourself, and therefore we're going to take away your guns. And then we'll have a hearing in 14 days after we take away your guns. I know it's completely opposite of due process. Challenges are being made to it, but I get it. It makes everybody feel good. If it saved just one life, wouldn't it be worth it? Let's just go ahead and violate individuals' constitutional rights. Well, of course, that's okay as long as it's not your rights being violated. And anyway, so this coward goes into this establishment. Fortunately, there was a former Army soldier that was in there, tackled the coward, this Anderson Lee Aldrich, got the gun away from him, his rifle of some type. They haven't actually said. I've heard reports of a long rifle, which makes me think of a hunting rifle. Then other people said it was some sort of assault rifle. So I don't really know for sure exactly what it was. Anyway, this guy, this Army guy, I saw a video of him today. He basically just starts pounding the guy. And then a drag queen comes over and starts stomping him. I'm assuming with his, foot and putting it on this Aldrich guy's head. Apparently good enough that he is still in the hospital. So maybe one of those high heel stilettos went through his cheek or something along those lines. Maybe took an eye out. I don't know. But I'd be okay if it did, because this guy's a coward. And the mayor has made comments down there that he said it had all the trimming, so to speak, of a hate crime, which would make you believe that the mayor, who used to be our former attorney general and prosecutor down there in Colorado Springs, knows more than we do and has some information to say that this guy went into this club to harm people of the LGBTQ community. But the law here in Colorado, they can charge it as a hate crime, which they did. They charged, I think, 10 counts of murder, first-degree murder, and then extreme indifference, and then a couple of hate crimes. Well, guess what? It doesn't add any greater sentence to it. Colorado does not have the death penalty anymore because the legislature changed that a couple of years ago, even though it more than likely would have remained in effect had it been a vote of the people. But anyway, so let's hope this guy suffered some painful injuries. Sounds like he's got some serious mental health issues. Sounds like the whole family maybe has some issues. Mom, I guess, that raised him. And what's really weird is the kid changed his name when he was 15. His original name was Nicholas F. Brink, and then he became Anderson Lee Aldrich. And like I said, his previous case got dismissed and he was sealed so nobody could use it against him, like trying to get his guns away. He apparently was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they put out a statement saying that he was on the membership rolls, but he had not been active in Colorado Springs to their knowledge. So the police have remained pretty tight-lipped about any details of the case. Once again, they're asking that the affidavit for the arrest warrant be sealed because they don't want to jeopardize the prosecution. I'm not exactly sure what they mean, jeopardize the prosecution. I just don't get it. It seems pretty open and shut case. Obviously, we give everyone the presumption of innocence here on Crime Talk, unless and until they have been found guilty in a court of law or pled guilty in a court of law. So we got that case. And then, of course, the other news from last week, still Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell. That circus never gets old, does it? Now we know we're only going to have one trial. We just have to get to trial. And how do you get to trial? First, you have to have a judge set a trial date, which still hasn't officially been done. Then the court needs to actually set a motions filing deadline date for all motions that they want litigated by the court or in the court. So the judge can rule on them. All the judge has to say is, I'm issuing an order. If you got motions, you better file them by this date. Otherwise, I'm going to deem them waived. Of course, there's always an exception to that. And we're going to set a trial date. And we're going this time. And we're going to have a single trial, a joint trial, which I think the Judge Boyce in that particular case is making a huge mistake. But hey, what do I know? Only been trying criminal cases for 27 years. I think I know a good severance issue when I see it. I think that's one. We'll see, I guess, who is right if and when there's a conviction and if and when there's an appeal and it gets reversed. I just don't understand what the heck the judge is doing for sure. All right. I hope you enjoyed our live program. We do this every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks for joining us. Please, if you haven't done so already, subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, hit that little bell so that you get notifications. And if you'd like to continue the conversation, we're going to jump over to our Patreon show here in just a couple of minutes, where you're going to be able to call in and we can have this conversation. It's not just me talking, because literally I've been talking all day. It's been a long day. We'll just leave it at that. We'll tell our Patreons about it. So have a wonderful day, not just a good day. And we'll see all of our Patreons there in just a few minutes. Thanks for watching.